Hello, everyone. This is Aisha and Dean coming to you from our home in Southern California. We were having some technical glitches. I think we were live streaming, but there were some individuals who couldn't see it, so we're actually redoing the talk again.
Yeah, we always talk about challenges for the brain and how it can either grow or shrink your brain.
Yes.
I'm not sure what was that about. I think either we shrunk it a little bit and then grew it again. It was a challenge. Nonetheless, I think it's an important topic to talk about. Yes. This is a challenging time for all of us because it's not just about information, but fighting a information battle where there's so much false science being promulgated, and yet we still have to deal with the decades of true science. But now, recently, there's been a little pushback from the academic world where some incredible consensus papers and beautifully written and research data is coming out to confirm the importance of the relation of food on health and environment, and this is one of them.
Absolutely. So the paper that we are actually talking about was published recently, and it was a consensus paper, and I actually will put the link in there for you guys so that you can read it. It was a paper that was published on, I'm actually looking at the date right now, on January 16th. And the title of the paper was
of this year.
So just a couple of weeks ago. And the title of the paper was Food and the Anthropocene, the EAT-Lancet Commission on Healthy Diets from Sustainable Food Systems. And the author, the first author of this paper is Dr. Walter Willett, who was the chair of nutrition at Harvard School of Public Health. We heard in a lecture that he recently retired, which is such a bummer. He's just a force of nature, but I'm sure that he'll continue working in this realm. And so in this paper, just briefly kind of giving you an idea of what this paper was about, they came up with goals and statements about the importance between the relationship of food and our environment. And the summary document actually gives us an overview picture of food, planet, and health. And what does healthy diet mean at the day and age that we're living, and how does that impact the environment as far as sustainability is concerned. And so Dr. Willett, in his own words, and I'm actually going to read it out here, he says in this paper, transformation to healthy diets by 2050 will require substantial dietary shifts. Global consumption of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and legumes will have to double, and consumption of foods such as red meat and sugar will have to be reduced by more than 50%. A diet rich in plant foods or plant-based foods and with fewer animal sources confers both improved health and environmental benefits. Correct. And I think that's a beautiful statement.
Yeah, what we're talking about is twofold importance. Yeah. We're not just talking about the health benefits, which we know. I know despite the noise, we know the benefit it confers as far as cancers are concerned, as far as heart disease, diabetes, and now the dementias. But what it does for the environment is profound, given what we're going through, the climate change and everything else. So this paper, I think, we'll share it with you guys. It's critical that anybody who's interested in health and environment to read this and then to share it with others.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll spend some time discussing what this essentially means. Basically, over 30 scientists who participated in this paper, they came up with a statement saying that without any action at this day and age, the world risks failing to meet the UN Sustainability Developmental Goals and the Paris Agreement for climate change. And today's children will inherit a planet that has been severely degraded and where much of the population will increasingly suffer from malnutrition and preventable diseases.
What's amazing about this paper, it's not just nutritionists, but environmentalists coming together. Yeah. And not just somebody who just picked up the topic and starts talking about it on the internet, but the leading figures in their field that came together and wrote this as a guide for the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So and I actually put the link in there for you guys to take a look at it and download it if you're interested. The idea is that the global food system must operate within boundaries of human health and food production to ensure healthy diets from sustainable food systems for nearly 10 billion people by 2050.
Correct. I mean, at the rate that we're going, it's not sustainable at all. We're losing the Amazon forest at a rate because of need for meat consumption.
Absolutely.
And we're losing our battle as far as water consumption is concerned as well. Yeah. So if we're going to be 10 billion people, actually that's a conservative estimate. There are estimates out there that will be actually more than 10 billion by 2050. At the rate we're moving, the most important thing we can do is to address our
the next section actually is a goal, and the goal is to achieve planetary health and planetary health diet for nearly 10 billion people by 2050. And a large body of work has been created on the environmental impact of various foods and diets. And they actually have looked at the summary of all the research on diets, and they've concluded that a diet that is rich in plant-based foods and fewer animal sources actually confer environmental improvement and health improvement as well. To me, I think that's a really, really neat statement, because for the first time, we're getting statements from people who've been in this field of nutrition and planetary health, and they have a bird's eye view or a global view of all the data that is out there, and to make a statement like that is profound.
It is. It's absolutely.
Right. And so they've come up with a concept of win-win. You know, what's the perfect situation that is good for the environment as well as for people, and as far as health goals are concerned.
By the way, we'll create a video with all these slides that we've created that shows each of these graphs and all these data. I think it's critical for everybody, and you're free to share it with whoever you want. Because for people to be armed with the data, real data, not conjured or confounded data, I think is important. So once we share it with you, please share it with everybody else.
Absolutely. Also, I'm actually going to try to see if I can share some of the images here with you guys later on. I think the target is win-win. Remember the concept of win-win. So what does win-win essentially mean? Win-win situation means that it's healthy for people and healthy for the planet as well. And again, the goal for reducing animal-based products by 50% by 2050 requires all of us to start acting right now and take the necessary steps.
Correct. Absolutely. So we've spoken about it. So there are possibilities of us. What we're doing right now is actually loss. Yeah. The food consumption, the pattern of food consumption is neither beneficial for us or the planet. Mm-hmm. So at this point, we're destroying the planet at an exponential rate, and we are destroying our health. I mean, we know that for the first time in a long time, the mortality age actually went down in the United States to 78. We're losing the mortality battle. We're losing the morbidity and health battle in all fronts. Diabetes is increasing at an exponential rate. The heart disease is, you might be surviving for some, but for a great majority, it's a loss. And for dementia, it's an exponential increase. So it's a loss. Now, the other pattern that usually people talk about is win-loss, which is you could do something where the health benefits to some extent, but the environment loses. Well, obviously that's a short-term goal, and we aim, and given the dire state, given that we know that by 2050, not just the population will be 10 billion and it's unsustainable by itself, that we will actually overwhelm the water supply as well as the environmental capacity to sustain. I think it's critical that we start talking about a win-win paradigm.
Absolutely. So they go on further into actually describing a target healthy diet. And if you look at the pictures that are included in the healthy diet is, there's a big plate, and half of it is filled with plants, basically vegetables and fruits. 1/4 is filled with legumes and plant-based sources, and just a sliver of that is actually animal-based products. Remember, they're actually saying shrink that as much as possible.
Correct.
And then the fourth quarter is basically sources of whole grains, and they've included whole wheat and brown rice and all kinds of grains, and that goes against all the hoopla that we hear that grains are bad for you, and we get crazy books like like Grain Brain saying that that is the reason why people have brain disorders, which is so not true. Grains are a great source of fiber and protein, and a lot of individuals actually feed off of grains, and it's a great source of nutrition and food. So they went on into the details of actually showing what a healthy diet looks like. And the statement from these scientists is that a healthy diet should optimize health, and it's defined broadly as a state of being in complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease, which goes really well with our concept of brain vitality.
Correct. And it's not about absence of disease, meaning that if you're just living with the idea of avoiding disease, it's not a state of vitality. It's not a state of being present and healing and health. Yeah. You're just surviving from moment to moment. And that's actually our current sick care system, right, where you're focusing on sick care, where you're focusing on disease once it actually reaches the point with the population. Absolutely. Healthcare means avoidance of that. Healthcare means doing the kind of things that are beneficial for not just the present, but long-term as well. And that's the goal that we have, and a great majority of others in the public health sector. But it's an uphill battle, because our entire mindset on the one side is about sick care and pills and surgeries, and on the other side, maintaining the status quo as far as nutrition and whatever environmental needs we have. And those are not sustainable.
Very true. I think I found that picture profound. The fact that, and that actually kind of reminds you of the Canadian dietary plan that recently came out. We'll talk about that some other time, which is phenomenal.
Which is aligned the same way.
Right.
Half the plate is fruits and vegetables, a quarter is grains, and another quarter is proteins. And then they say most of the proteins should be coming from, and one amazing thing was that they actually excluded milk for the first time as a liquid, as a source of liquid nourishment. And they said, drink, surprise, surprise, water. Yeah, the magic water.
And even if you look at the protein recommendations in this document, just like what the Canadians have professed right now, most of it is plant-based proteins coming from legumes and nuts.
The Canadians got it right again.
Yes, they sure did.
Okay.
And the statement is, and I'm actually reading it from the document, healthy diets have an optimal caloric intake and consist largely of a diversity of plant-based foods, low amount of animal source foods, contain unsaturated rather than saturated fats, and limited amounts of refined grains, highly processed foods, and added sugar. Sounds like the Neuroplan to me.
It is the Neuroplan. They read our book.
Yes. And so, these are the steps that are required to transform health and healthy diets by 2050. And it'll require changes that need to happen now. The numbers are soaring for diabetes. We always talk about it. And if you look at other preventable diseases like diabetes and high blood pressure and all the vascular risk factors that push diseases like Alzheimer's, stroke, cancers, most of it is lifestyle related. And if we don't make the changes now, we won't even have the resources to address diseases by 2050.
It's about mindful living. It's a little bit of a self-serving title, but it is about mindful living. We can't be mindful from moment to moment, because otherwise we don't do anything good for ourselves or the planet or community.
Absolutely.
What in the East Coast right now, they're going through a polar vortex. I have to be careful about that term.
Yeah.
Polar vortex, and most people think, oh, we're not going through global warming. It's not about warming and cooling. In fact, it is warming significantly, and when we were invited to NASA JPL, we saw the data. We saw the global change over time, over 1,000 years. It's probably the most scary thing I've ever seen.
It was mind-blowing.
It's about the vacillations in temperature and the loss of control and homeostatic system that has maintained this globe. And we're going to see more and more of it. And majority of that is from our relationship, majority, not all, our relationship with food and food consumption and loss of trees for creating land for meat and other and dairy. So we really have to start living mindfully. Absolutely.
Which means when you operationalize that, based on the data that we have today, it means that we have to make substantial changes in our diets. That includes more than doubling of the consumption of healthy foods, which are fruits and vegetables, legumes, whole grains, and nuts. And greater than 50% reduction in global consumption of unhealthy foods such as meats and added sugars.
Correct.
There it is. I mean, they just put it out there. And so
we still have people like Joe Rogan's and others arguing about a phenomenon without consistent, repeatable, validated data with one-off meta-analysis that's been altered or another one-off meta-analysis. And it's a sad time because we're seeing the changes around us. We know the data, yet the social media has actually opened up the realm to greater chaos than promulgation and spread of true and consistent and repeatable data.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I hope the fact that brilliant scientists were involved in this paper. I hope the fact that this comes from a legitimate source and that it's essentially a consensus and it's a report out there for the world opens up a lot of minds for them to be welcome and open to new conversations and new thought processes instead of sitting in their own rooms and confirming their biases.
Well, I'm a little incredulous because recently I was on the forum arguing with some people about vaccines, and they kept sending me videos of somebody having a 1-hour talk about this and not taking into consideration huge databases of research that shows that vaccination actually helps people, and so it's almost like consolidated, well-founded, long-term data against one-off, a hero that speaks out, or one person that says, "Oh, ignore everybody else, and you know best," which actually is a very slick way of separating you from facts. Yeah. So it's critical that we go with data that's been validated, especially now. I know that this is not a comfortable topic, and a lot of people say don't take on these kind of topics and just stay in your realm. I don't think that the planet can stand everybody just staying on the side and letting the squeakiest wheel get the grease and the loudest voice get in front. I think we need to all join in and find appropriate, validated, repeatable sources of data to speak to the truth.
Yes, the numbers are quite alarming, and we have to think of the next generation and our children's inheriting this.
No, this generation. I want to live too.
Yeah. Yes, this generation too, as well as the next generation. The numbers are scary, and I'm so excited that this paper was out, and I think it gives us a lot of hope that there are leaders, there are people who are concerned and who are actually showing people a good direction to follow.
Absolutely.
That's basically it. Thank you so much for joining us.
We'll share the paper, but more importantly, we have a presentation that we will actually videotape and share it with everybody else.
Absolutely.
It will be a little more constructed and not so much off the cuff, but it's important for us to fight the noise with appropriate data. Absolutely. I've said that several times, but it's a frustration that we're seeing, we're all experiencing, and it's time for us all to speak out to the truth.
Absolutely. I'm putting out the final message or the statement that was made by the paper there as a comment for you guys to read. But, check out the link, go and take a look at the paper. There's some other individuals who have discussed it as well. Please let us know what you think. Please comment if you have your, if you have other thoughts, other opinions. We would love to hear from you.
About the paper.
About the paper, yes. About the paper. And thank you for joining us. Many of you have commented. Jeanette says, thank you for all you do. Thank you so much, Jeanette, for being here with us. Trisha, hey, Trisha, long time no see. She says, so appreciate all you do. We appreciate you, Trisha. Thank you for being with us. Peter, thank you for being here. Sarah, Ricardo, you're online. Thank you for being here with us. And that's basically it.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys next week then. Take care. Bye.